So we are back talking about G2 and Carlos once again. Obviously, G2 is one of the most polarizing, interesting, and entertaining League of Legends and esports teams in the entire world. You know, Carlos, G2, they have this social media thing down. They have so many fans, fanatics, so many haters, people that hate, Carlos and everything he does. But whether G2's winning, losing, everything in between, they always get people talking. They're an interesting, exciting team. They are entertaining. And at the end of the day, esports is the entertainment business. Carlos and G2 really have this whole thing down. When we're taking a look at LOL Esports, they've had a crazy last year. They had a crazy season, a crazy offseason, and crazy, 2022 is coming on the way for sure. So I know we already talked about this Carlos and Thorin interview a little bit, but again, I thought this was such a good interview with so many spicy clips and takes from Carlos and hard-hitting questions from Thorin that I did want to talk a little bit about it once again. This time, Carlos commenting a little bit about Rekkles and his stint with the team in 2021, which is obviously a very, very interesting topic and something that people would love some more insight and details into. So that's what we'll be talking about in this video today. Definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. And subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. We recently hit 10,000 subscribers, and who knows what's next in 2022. But with that being said, let's get right into this. Here is that video. Again, this is Carlos on Perk's Super Team selling Rekkles, considering Viper. Talk to Thorin, League of Legends, on the Thorin League of Legends channel. Thorin and Carlos are just talking about how the 2021 season went, how Rekkles went down, all this stuff. And Carlos gives some thoughts and opinions that I just kind of want to, show the clip and break down a little bit. So let's see what Carlos has to say.
I mean, it's just very different view on how the game should be played. And very different view on how a team should operate and operate together day by day, right?
So this is something, he's talking about how everyone just kind of had a different view. This is something that a lot of people said during the 2021 season. This is not a super high-level, in-depth analysis, analytical take. If you watch G2 in 2021, you could tell. Caps, Jankos, these guys who have been on G2 for a while, they oftentimes weren't on the same page as Rekkles, and Rekkles just played the game a different style, at a different speed than G2. He didn't fit into, the mold that made G2 great in 2019 and even into 2020. And maybe in some ways that was going to be good. Some people coming in the year were like, yeah, Rekkles is going to help G2 dial it back, help them be more under control, help them be more consistent, help them be better. And some people were like, yeah, Rekkles is never going to fit into this crazy G2 team and environment. And obviously the people on that side ended up being a little more so right. But anyway, even if you couldn't tell during the 2021 season, which I think most people could, we kind of got this sense headed into the offseason when, the rumors were coming out that Caps and Jankos didn't want to play with Rekkles anymore heading into the 2022 season. So it definitely seemed like there was a difference in opinions in a lot of different ways, in and out of game. And Carlos, just kind of reiterates those points and confirms them to us. It's always better hearing it from Carlos himself rather than, the speculative Reddit thread or a tweet or, some rumor post or whatever.
And there's no right or wrong answer. You see Messi succeeding, you see Ronaldo succeeding, right? The magic versus the commitment and the ambition to be the number one, right? And both work. And so
I think that is a very, very interesting point because, again, he does go on, and we'll go over it a little bit, to I think actually call out Rekkles a little bit, not like totally trash him or anything terrible, but I definitely think, he has an opinion about Rekkles in a certain way. But here he does indicate that, yeah, different styles, different strategies can work. G2 has been awesome. They've been amazing. They've been great. They are an MSI champion. They're world's finalists. They're all these things. They've won so many LEC titles. But Rekkles, playing his style, playing his strategy, doing his thing, has accomplished a lot of things as well. He's won a ton of LEC titles. He's won an MVP. He's made it to the World Finals as well. He came up short in the same place G2 came up short. They both made it there. At the World Championships, they've both gone, to the same places. So, just because Rekkles didn't work out with G2 doesn't mean Rekkles sucks, doesn't mean, this was a horrible decision, that it didn't make sense to take this risk, all that stuff. And I think that's at least cool of Carlos to say. He's not just saying, hey, Rekkles style is objectively worse and G2 style is objectively better. He need to fit in with us. He's just saying, hey, we have two different opinions. He's been doing this for a long time. We've been doing this for a long time. We've both been successful. Neither of us was going to change, and that's okay, and that's why we're moving on. But he does go on to say some, spicier stuff here in a second. Not super, super crazy spicy, but I think pretty funny.
I think this is no different, Rekkles viewed the game one way, and he's made it work with champions that no other player, I think, could have made it work. Like, I don't think you can. I don't think most players can get away with playing Sivir Jhin and expect good results. Yet he had good results, okay? Which speaks very highly about how fucking good he is in the game. But when those two picks you're doing sacrifice something else, perhaps top side, or sacrifice something else in the way we play the game, when the meta is not the right fit, and you are forced to play Ziggs 1v2 or Ezreal 1v2 bot lane, and you're still wanting to play, the Jhin and Sivir stuff. I'm getting too granular, but because it's not as cut clear as this, right? But I'm just trying to be like extremist just for the sake of people understanding.
So obviously, he's trying to give an example there. Like he said, it's not exactly as black and white as that, but he is saying it's kind of sort of like that where, yeah, Rekkles has his playstyle. He has his, at times he can be lane dominant. He's gone through periods of him and Hylissang really, really dominating lane, but it does seem very support reliant. But for the most part, he's looking to chill, he's looking to farm, he's looking to scale, and he's looking to have that one big pop-off moment in team fights, 3-4 items into the game, 30 minutes into the game, whatever. And playing mostly risk-averse and, playing the game calculated and playing that perfect game or whatever. And throughout G2's last couple of years, their games could be classified as anything except perfect. That's not what Cass is about. That's not what Jankos is about. That's not what Wonder and Mickey were about either. And I think that's very, very interesting. But yeah, kind of interesting that he's saying, if you are this guy who's had all the success playing, Jhin, Sivir, whatever, but the meta changed and we need to play something else, and you're not willing to do that. You're like, I still think, I can make Jhin work. I'm pretty damn good at Jhin. I can make Sivir work. I'm pretty damn good at Sivir. And you're not willing to try out the other things, or maybe he's just not as good at those other things, or maybe he's not as comfortable or whatever. That could be an issue that arises. And maybe that's what we saw some of with Rekkles this year. Now, again, Carlos isn't saying that was the exact situation, that was the exact scenario, but he is saying that, Rekkles just couldn't adapt to the changes in meta, the things that G2 felt needed to be done, all this stuff. And it's, in my opinion, kind of calling him out in a way there, which is kind of interesting.
Then he might still be able to play well, but the team will have either everybody else plays for that win condition of having Rekkles, or it's gonna fail. And we had a team of 4 that never played as win condition and never had a one-dimensional win condition through bot. G2 has never played through a one-dimensional win condition as through bot. Never. Maybe for a month or two with Sven and me and Mitty at Worlds, maybe, but it didn't really work out. But we never did that. So now we were incentivized to do that, but we never did it still, So I think that it's definitely a mistake in team building, because we should have looked for an ADC that's not a rock star that sees himself as a great carry, but more so someone that takes pleasure in adapting to what the team needs,
So obviously a lot to unpack there, talking about how, having a guy like Rekkles on your team makes you need to maybe play a one-dimensional style. Maybe he's a guy who, hey, he is really good at that scale and playing for late, play around me and I'll get us there in the late game. I'll get us over the hump or through the finish line or whatever. But like he said, that's not a style that G2 had ever played before. Those other 4 players, they were always changing their win conditions. They were always finding what was best in the meta. And even if that's what Rekkles was best at or most comfortable or whatever, and even if the team did decide to play that, if that wasn't necessarily the best style at the time, they would be handicapping themselves in a way. And if their goals are not just to do well in Europe, but to go be the best team in the world, and you're handicapping yourself by playing what you believe is a suboptimal style just because it fits your personnel or this one big personality or rock star or whatever, like Carlos says, that could potentially be detrimental. So in this way, I do think, he's throwing a little bit of shade at Rekkles, talking about how, he wanted us to play this one-dimensional style. He wasn't flexible enough. He couldn't fit in with what G2 needed to do. Now, maybe that's flame. Maybe that's just being realistic. Maybe Carlos is even a little bit off here, but I did think that was very, very interesting. And then also, obviously, at the end, talking about how they made a mistake in team building. They needed a guy who's ready to fit in with the team, not be this rock star. And that's kind of funny as well, because now, obviously, they have that guy in Flockett. Flockett's a guy coming in with he hasn't made a name for himself. He shouldn't have an ego. He should want to be molded by guys like Caps and Yankos and the coaching staff that G2 is going to have and the G2 atmosphere and lifestyle and everything. And we'll see how 2022 goes. Maybe it'll be a lot better, or maybe Carlos is going to find out that, hey, the grass isn't always greener, and maybe we'd love to have Rekkles. But I do agree that bringing in a guy like Rekkles into an already very, very veteran team that's had a lot of success playing one style and then trying to get them to play around him is going to be very, very tough. So I also think that this is probably a good move for Rekkles going to, the ERLs, going to K-Corp, and a team that's going to be much younger, much more inexperienced, and going to probably fit in with that veteran rock-style star of AD carry veteran. If they're going to play around him, he's going to win them a bunch of games. Maybe they'll come up learning how to play that strategy. It's going to be much easier to teach that to a bunch of ERL players than to an MSI championship team that just is looking for a new AD carry. But very, very interesting insight coming from Carlos here. Again, I thought this was a super, super good interview. A lot of good stuff. Throwing a little shade at Rekkles, talking about how this 2021 season went. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I'd appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about Carlos's comments about Rekkles here? Is he off? Is he right on the money? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe, save today, and all my latest content. Hope to catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.